Welcome, everybody, to the Sunday International Big Book Workshop. I'm Dan B. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Great to see you all here. This workshop is facilitated by Kemble H. This study relies on you listening, but please, we pray that you have your big book in hand and follow along with a pen, pencil, or highlighter. Make any notes and pause if you need to. Also, write down any questions and we'll take them at the end of the meeting. We will keep everybody muted during the workshop, except for the facilitators, and any inappropriate behaviour will not be tolerated and you will be removed. This meeting is being recorded, the audio portion only, and only of the facilitators. The recording will be stopped at the end of the workshop before taking any questions in order to preserve your anonymity. So have a really great meeting here, guys. And how we start here is with a step 3 prayer, if you care to join me. Sorry, page 63. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help, thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Thank you. Over to you, Campbell.
Okay, thank you, Brother Dan. All right, happy Sunday, everybody. It is Mother's Day in the States today, so we're celebrating Mother's Day. And it's a blessing being a recovered alcoholic that I can be here with the mothers that live in my house and associate with all the other mothers that's in my family and others that's neighbors and friends. But anyway, welcome to the Keystone Sunday Big Book Workshop. Like I said, I am Kimball. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I recover from alcoholism by taking the 12 steps as outlined in this book. So this meeting is not a conventional meeting because normally I do the talking. Most we take people to the program of recovery, and not just like regular meetings, but people like to share war stories and they get up there talking. Big mainline speakers, they talk about this and they talk about that, but never go to the book. But here we go through the book precisely as it's outlined. That's what I love about this program. I spent a lot of years in this program listening to all these big mainline speakers issuing out the Burger King sobriety. Well, take this part and leave that part alone. If you don't need it, just don't mess with it. No, that's pick and choose. But in this program of recovery outlined in this book, it tells us precisely how the first 100 or more than 100 men and women recover from alcoholism. These people was telling me in meetings, oh, we never recover. We always recovering. Well, let me share this a little bit with you. Apparently, they didn't read the book too carefully because they just recovered over and over through it because on the title page, it says Alcoholics Anonymous, the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. That's the first hope and the first promise in this book. And it goes throughout the book, all the way to step 12, having had a spiritual awakening. The solution for alcoholism is to have a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience and a relationship with God or your higher power, whatever you want to call it, because this book promises that if we take these steps outlined in this book, it will solve our problem. And it's gaining relationship. Man, I used to hear people in meetings say meeting makers make it and all this good stuff, but I made meeting after meeting, sometimes 3 a day, in person, 20, 25 a week, in person, and I still drank regardless because they wouldn't give me the message out the book. But thank God, we go through the message in the book. And it solves our problem. Anyway, we finishing up step 2 today. Step 2 talks about came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And we start on page 58 today. So far, we have gathered information from the title page all the way up to page 58, covering steps 1 and step 2, right? See, step 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable, right? So, I remember I used to admit I was an alcoholic just because other people in the meeting were saying it. But did I believe it? Shoot, no. I always thought I had code. So I was lying to myself. See, we alcoholics, we can't differentiate the true from the false. And that keeps us stuck, keeps us in an insane state of mind. So, but just admitting is never enough. And then I have people in meetings saying, I'm craving for a drink. I'm craving. So apparently, if you crave alcohol, it takes a drink in order for you to crave it, because that's our problem. That's what makes us alcoholic. When we take a drink, our body craves and demands for more. And we develop this physical allergy to it. That's the first symptom of being a real alcoholic. We have an abnormal reaction to alcohol if we're a real alcoholic, especially alcoholic of mild type. Bill Wilson mentions real alcoholic, true alcoholic, chronic alcoholic in the book, but they all mean the same thing. We cannot start drinking without developing this allergy. And there's no solution for it but another drink, unless we find some type of program of action, no doubt. But this book promises us that we follow these steps precisely, we can recover from this thing. But it's a spiritual program, right? It's not religion. Religion ain't got nothing to do with this. It's all embedded in a relationship with God or whatever power you may believe in. Me personally, I believe in God. So, but then for the non-alcoholic, right? His relationship with alcohol, you know, he can take it or he can leave it alone. Even a heavy drinker, they can take it or leave it alone. Moderate drinkers have no problem with alcohol. Sure, some of them may get in trouble, but but that don't make them alcoholic. Consequences do not make us alcoholic. But I can't remember every time for years I drank alcohol, I go to jail, right? And that was the consequences caused due to my alcoholism, but it didn't make me alcoholic. What made me alcoholic, I could not stop. Once I took a drink, I could not stop it, and I couldn't control the amounts I was taking because I was suffering from an illness in the mind first, because the problem with the alcoholic is sinners in his mind rather than in his body. So, well, what are we to do about it? Well, we just went through all the step one from the title page all the way up to page 43. So from page 44 to where we at now, is working on step two. So we see the problem in step one, we see the solution we need to take, and then we get this course of action. So they're presenting us some things right here. And then it talks about step two, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. See, a real alcoholic of our type, we are insane when it comes to the first drink. The thought of taking that first drink, that's what makes us insane. People think we crazy, right? They think we mental outfits or outright defective or whatever we call it. They really do think we crazy, but they do not understand alcoholism. The world do not understand that we are dealing with an illness that only a spiritual experience can conquer, right? See, a person catches cancer or some other disease, they got a treatment for it, right? And people feel sorry for them, but not for the alcoholic, right? They don't feel sorry for us. They say, oh, he just can't handle his liquor. Why don't he just stop? Because he got this pretty wife, he got a good job and all this good stuff. But see, non-alcoholics lose jobs too. They might go to work one day with alcohol in their breath, they might get fired. But as real alcoholics, in my experience, we drink on the job. We live for alcohol. So that was our go-to. I used to have to have just to even move around and think. So, but then, you know, some people call us alcoholic because we might get a DUI or some kind of charge and go to jail, right? Crash cars or lose families, and they consider us alcoholics, right? But they don't understand that don't make us alcoholic, because there are non-alcoholics who never got DUIs, they never lost a family, they never lost a job and all that stuff. But the truth about it, the damaged alcohol of our alcoholic use has caused us problems over and over again. And without an anti-psychic change, there's very little hope of our recovery. So we only get relief from taking a few drinks. That it eases our state of mind, right? But and then we talk about sanity. For some people, the word sanity is not completely clear because it makes it sound like we are crazy people, right? And other descriptions that capture the essence of what is being said can be substituted for the word sanity in step two. Words like restores to honesty, freedom, restores to love, peace of mind, a balance. So for the newcomer, anybody struggling, step one is where you are today, or where we will be at today. And two is where we want to go. Step two is where we want to go. So we complete step two today. And 3 through 12 is how we're going to get there. So in the big book, this step is described in parts of chapters 1, 2, 3, and all of chapter 4. So today, boom, here we are on chapter 5. Brother Dan, if you will, you can open it up and read right page 58 to the top of 59, where it says, we ask his protection and care with complete abandon. And we'll get to rolling from there.
Yeah, cool. Okie dokie. How it works, everybody. Page 58. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. They are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnest at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember, we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, and powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Cool.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Brother Dan. No doubt. Here are a few considerations for step two I'd like to run over before we dig off into what Brother Dan just read. And this is based on pages 44 through 53, right? So one of them would be, am I clear on what a real alcoholic is? Well, you know, we get the description of the real alcoholic back on page 21 in our big book. It describes the real alcoholic to the point. So a couple of questions we ask us here is on page 44. There are two questions we need to ask ourselves. If you honestly want to, and you find that you cannot quit entirely, or when drinking, you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience can conquer. That was on page 44. So now we're clear on what an alcoholic is. An alcoholic suffers from the allergy of the body, and a second symptom is the malady of the mind. But what sets us apart is this allergy that we suffer from in our bodies. I'm pretty sure if you're real alcoholic as I was, we get thirsty as we drink. I know the more I poured in my body, the more my body was crying for more. Oh, Kim, you playing with me? That ain't enough. Keep putting it in. Keep putting it in. Could not control the amounts that I took. Unless I ended up in jail or passed out somewhere, blacked out. Ain't know where I was when I got up and none of that good stuff. But then, so we very clear on that. The non-alcoholic, they can take it or leave it alone. So boom. But you know, us being real alcoholics here, we can make the clear distinction between the non-alcoholic and the alcoholic. But then another question, are we willing to believe that I'm suffering from an illness and only a spiritual experience will conquer? The book just answered that question for us right there. If we may be suffering from something that only a spiritual experience will conquer. So now we see the information in the book, and we can read this information and say, well, Apparently I am suffering from something because I can't stop my own self from drinking. Then anyway, we can ask another question. Do I have the power to conquer my alcoholism? Well, we keep reading on page 45, right? It's lack of power. That was our dilemma. So we didn't have the power to conquer our alcoholism. I know I used to think I had all the power, right? But you know, a real alcoholic of my type, we have lost the power of choice in drink. And that's another point. It says, the question is, do I have the power to not drink? Well, why haven't you? But page 45 describes that in detail. Matter of fact, yeah, let me run to page 45 just quick. And it's the first full paragraph. It says, lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live. And it had to be a power greater than ourselves. No problem. It had to be something greater than ourselves. When I thought I was the power greater than myself, it kept me drunk. Obviously, here's the big book. Short, obviously, but where and how were we to find this power? Well, the big book's going to answer that very question for us in the very next sentence. Well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. Notice it said it will solve your problem. Another thing we can think about, did I become an alcoholic? Well, true enough, we drank until we became alcoholics. An alcoholic has to drink before he can become an alcoholic. Non-alcoholics, they don't just all of a sudden born, they're not born to be an alcoholic. We're not born alcoholic. We was crushed by a self-imposed crisis. Ain't nobody else did it to us. We did it to ourselves. Another question, so we can ask ourselves, do I now believe, or am I willing to believe that there is a power greater than myself? Yes. We begin to believe right now. It's not telling us to believe in a certain power right now, but it's plants this thought in our mind. Maybe there is something outside of me or something that's greater than me that can solve my problem. I used to hear people in the meeting say, well, use the meeting as your higher power. Well, no human power could relieve us of our alcoholism, right? So for me, I couldn't deal with nothing like that depending on another human being, because doctors couldn't solve my problem, psychiatrists couldn't solve my problem, nurses couldn't solve my problem, rehabs couldn't solve my problem. Only thing solved my problem was going through these 12 steps and gaining a relationship with a power greater than myself, and it did solve my problem. So what's our choice to be? God is either everything or he is nothing, right? So that is it. Back to page 58. This has been my favorite reading in the meetings because I love to read this part. It says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Here's the promise the big book gives us. When you work the 12 steps carefully and completely, you will succeed. I'm talking about completely. So that's why in this workshop, we go through the whole part, the first portion of the big book. From the title page all the way up to page 164. We go through line by line, page by page, instead of skipping and scrubbing. When we go through the program action, my sponsor took me on a line by line basis, just as they outlined it in this book, and it brought miraculous results. But it says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Talking about the first 100 men and women here, or the more than 100 men and women who put this book together. It's a spiritual set of tools that they are talking about. Remember, this is a spiritual program. So they outline this book with spiritual principles, and we can apply these principles in our lives. We can live better lives. Because this book gives us a design for living, and it works in all ways of life. It works in rough going. It works when times are going good. Works when times are just all bad and just you crapped all up, because it's rooted in step 11, right? Meaning when we gain a relationship with God, we have access to him 24 hours a day, no matter where we go or how we act. Next sentence here on page 58, it says, those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. So what we need to do in this situation, what is suggested that give ourselves entirely to the working or taking of these 12 steps. You know, this paragraph gonna tell us later, half measures avail us nothing, and it don't. Half measures avail me nothing but another drink. And the years when I thought I could my own steps, the years I thought that I just read the writing on the wall and said, okay, I done took this step, back out the door, bam, another drink. Then I'm wondering why I did it again. I had no idea because I was baffled by alcoholism. It had me baffled. So then it goes on to say, usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. True honesty. Matter of fact, this first paragraph talks about, it brings out honesty 3 times. We're gonna go over that in just a minute. So we need to be truthful with ourselves. Can I honestly stop myself from drinking? Can I honestly control the amounts that I take when I do take a drink? Just have to ingrain this in our brain. And if we truthful with ourselves, if you're a real alcoholic, we can't stop ourselves. So, you know, we can't. Then it goes on to say there are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. There's that second time. First time was saying being honest with themselves. Now it talks about demands rigorous honesty. Rigorous honesty is hard work. Because if we're doing something rigorous, we got to exert some effort to it, right? So their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Notice it says, if they have the capacity to be honest. So what it is, no matter what condition we alcoholics, what we are in, if we have the ability to see the truth, we can recover. Amen to that, yes. But we got to be able to see the truth. You know, it took me a lot of years in out the room. I was blinded, living in a delusion. Well, I can drink and still be like other people, but every time I took a drink, the evidence showed quite opposite. No, I never knew how I was going to act. I never knew what I was going to get into. And I'm sure we all got experiences like that, completely baffled. So our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any lengths to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. Okay, the alcoholic of my type. Well, I did have a spiritual awakening by taking the 12 steps. So we may want to ask the person that we may be sponsoring or somebody we trying to help, are you willing to go to any length to have this spiritual experience, this psychic change? Are you really willing to go to any length to take the steps? You know, it took a lot of alcohol to beat me down after many, many years. Then I became desperate. I became willing. I wanted a better life because I couldn't control this alcohol and this stuff was running me crazy. It was ruining me mentally, physically, financially, in every way. Alcohol affected every area of my life, right? So I had to become willing. Like I said, I had to get honest. We had to get honest first. Then I had to open up my mind, right? I had to open up our minds to be able to distinguish the true from the false. Would it be safe for me to take a drink? The answer for me would be, no, it's not safe for me to take a drink. So I had to get to the bottom. That's where honesty draws the line. When I was trying to fix my own self with self, I couldn't see the difference. No, all I could see was another drink sitting in my pathway. At this point, we see all this information we got laid out in this book for us. But now it should be to open up our eyes and we can go ahead and move on with the steps. But then the book goes on to say in the bottom paragraph, And some of these we bought. And then it says, with all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. So when we decided we want to take these 12 steps, we got to be brave. We got to muster up some courage and then be thorough from the very beginning. We try not to leave nothing out at the beginning, but of course, during the course of action, as we get further on in the program, there will probably be some things that we may have forgot. But the important part is to be honest, and we need to try to remember everything that we can, because I can't remember everything I ever did. Shoot, no, can't nobody do that. But honestly though, just being honest with ourselves, that's a beautiful start. Then we become willing to try to just, eventually when we get to step 4, we got to do this moral inventory. That's when a lot of things will probably come back to mind. And then we can take corrective action, but we'll get to that shortly. And I said, some of us tried to hold on to our old ideals, and the result was nil till we let go. Absolutely. The 12 steps won't work for us unless we totally let go of our old thinking. Now we've seen some of our old ideas had to be totally discarded. We went through some of that and we agnostics, right? We need to have some kind of change the belief system. So anyway, what I was believing before, it wasn't working. Because I was rooted in self-thinking, selfishness and self-centeredness, and it wasn't working. So that's the beautiful part about this program, and access. Just try to get rid of any prejudice we may have against programs of recovery, any prejudice against religious people and stuff like that. And then that's where the willingness comes in. We become willing to learn new ideas and new ways, right? So that's what this program of action does. It incorporates brand new ideas deep within us. And it helps us to recover from alcoholism. But half measures, they don't avail us nothing. Remember, next paragraph, it says, remember to be remembered, right? Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us, but there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. And this is rooted in prayer, right? See, step 2 is coming to believe. We need to develop some new ideas, right? Maybe we never prayed before or whatever, right? Maybe we want to pray to God or something greater than us when we was in a desperate situation. Like when we go to jail, or we want to pray to God, God help me get out, I won't do this no more. As soon as the door's open, bam, doing the same thing again, right? So didn't have no kind of style, no kind of prayer life. So we can talk to God. We can talk to this power that's greater, that you think is greater than you, right? And he'll reveal himself to us, right? Eventually. And step 2, coming to believe, right? Hey, we hadn't asked you to believe in there's no such and such right now, but the confirmation. By the time we get to end of step 2, we realize later on in the program that is confirmed in step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. Then it gives us some other things to do. Carry this message to other alcoholics. Practice these principles in all our affairs. Talking about all these spiritual principles. We're going to go through some of these spiritual principles in just a second. Goes on to say, half measures avail us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We ask his protection and care with complete abandon. We ask God for protection and care with complete abandon. God, protect me and care for me as I pursue to work these 12 steps, as I try to pursue relationship with this power that's greater than myself. It's all rooted in power. See, we lack the power to solve our own problem. We lack the power to control how much we drink. We lack the power to control how we gonna act. I know I used to act real crazy every time I took a drink, but I thought I had the best sense in the world until I got the alcohol in my butt, and all bets were off. All bets was off. So here it is. We need to continue to be willing. I stress this about quite a lot, to move in a new direction. Seek a relationship with this power, a relationship with God. And it's gonna it'll put us in a relationship with this power. And this relationship, I'm gonna tell you, people, what keeps us sober. No matter what we go through in life, once we gain that relationship, no matter how bad the day is, whatever goes on outside of our bodies, boom, we got something to connect to right away, and the problem can be removed. Big Book's gonna tell us that as well later on. But we're gonna face stuff every day. We're gonna have problems. You know, for instance, me and Brother Dan, we lost family members recently, and it's heartbreaking. But you know, as long as we can stay rooted and grounded in the power of great in ourselves, it keeps us sober, right? No matter what we go through. We may have opposition in the home, opposition on the job. It's going no matter where we go, it's gonna be some people just ain't gonna like us, no way. Whether you know us or not, right? They're just not gonna like us. Maybe they don't like the way we look. Maybe they don't like the way I talk. But it's always gonna be somebody somewhere, just out of for no reason. And even people from my past, right? They tend to look at us like, I'm just wondering how long it is before we get back to drinking and doing what he was doing again. You know, they're like they're sitting back there in the corner waiting on us to fall. Well, I'm gonna tell you this, they're waiting on me to fall. They're gonna be waiting a long darn time, waiting forever, because I never want to go back to that life. And the key part is my relationship with God. As long as we all can maintain a relationship with God, we got freedom. Freedom to go anywhere we want to do, freedom to do what we want to do, and we can go around and be around anybody. But I wouldn't suggest that early in the program. But even though early in my program on recovery, I was living, some of my family members, they drank and all this good stuff. I don't care. It don't bother me. That's just my experience. And part of what we do in this workshop, we do share our experience, strength, and hope. But we don't want you to just, if you don't feel comfortable, you know, books, we can't shield. That's what the point. We can't shield, our people can't shield us from alcoholism because they try to shield it from us. Y'all know what we're gonna do. We're gonna find a way to do it. So make sure we're spiritually fit if we want to ever be around anybody in our families or wherever we might go. We might want to go out to dinner somewhere. Here in Alabama, they sell alcohol everywhere you go. Go to a restaurant, they got alcohol. Everywhere you go, pretty much everywhere but church. Everywhere it's alcohol there. We're gonna see it right up the street. Right there, I live right in the middle of the city of Clinton here in Alabama. They can walk around up there right in town, about a block away, walk around in town, drinking, as long as it's in a glass and stuff like that. So, but I have to go to town sometime. But you know, alcohol, the problem has been removed, so we don't have to worry about it. So back to page 9. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. Notice the word suggested. So doing these 12 steps, right? We're not telling you you got to do it. That's totally up to the person. It ain't my job to set you down and say, you better do it this way. You better do it that way. No, we're not dictators over anybody. No, we just have a simple message to carry. And I love to carry this message because this very message worked for an alcoholic like me. 42 years of drinking, now 4 years and 3 months sobriety, due to taking the steps in this program. So y'all know my religion didn't solve my problem. I couldn't solve my problem. Only God could. And I thank him for it. Due to the fact that this program showed me a way. Ways I didn't know before. I didn't have no idea. But it did. So here it is, step 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, right? That our lives had become unmanageable. Spiritual principle of step 1 is honesty. Can we really see the truth now? Is what this book telling me is true? Then I can see it's true now. No doubt. So here it is. That makes me go back to page XXVII. In the bottom paragraph on page XXVII, it reads, men and women drink, essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. Yes, hey, we love the effect that it causes, right? The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot, after a time, differentiate the true from the false. We cannot differentiate the true from the false after a time, because You know, I remember taking that first drink, right? It was so electric. I just knew right then, I'm gonna do this stuff again. I like the way that stuff made me feel. Lord knows, ain't no that stuff gonna cause me to suffer from an illness that I couldn't shake. No, but it did. Then it goes on to say, to them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. So true for a real alcoholic. I didn't feel right once I got to being a heavy drinker and crossed the line to being a real alcoholic. I ain't like the way that I felt sober. My head didn't feel right, my body didn't feel right. But as soon as I got a couple of drinks in my body, shoot, I was back to normal. Yes, until I was out of it again. But then it goes on to say they are restless, irritable, and discontented unless they can again experience the ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks. Drinks which they can see others taking with impunity, right? Impunity means no consequences. We can see other people around us, they can drink, but they're not getting consequences. But then sometimes, like, and well, in my experience, I could drink with these very same people. They ain't having no problem. But here I am, the one having the problem. I'm the one getting hauled off the jail. I'm the one getting into all kind of stuff. So I had to be able to see the truth from the false at this very point. So then it goes on to relate, after they have succumbed to the desire again, as so many do, succumb to the desire, right? So that desire starts in our mind. Well, if they can do it, they ain't staggering, they ain't getting drunk, they ain't falling down. Let me try it, right? Then when I tried, here I am falling down drunk out the butt. I couldn't control the amounts. You know, we can't control the amounts that we take. We have a problem, but we can't see it. But now, this big book gives us the information. Now we can recognize true from the false. And then we succumb to that desire, right? As so many do. The phenomenon of craving develops. They pass through well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful with a firm resolution not to drink again. This is repeated over and over. And unless this person can experience an entire psychic change, there's very little hope of his recovery. See, we see a problem right here. Yes, but then it gives us a solution. This step 1 and step 2, right? On the other hand, as strange this may seem, that those who do not understand, once the psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems, he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol, the only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules. Well, the simple rules, peeps, are the course of action outlined in this book, the rest of the steps. Yes, like I said, this is the end of we're closing out on step 2. And can we see now that we got to do something? I got to do something. So, or else, to be doomed to an alcoholic life or alcoholic death or to accept spiritual help, those are the only 2 alternatives that we see right now. So, spiritual principle, step 1, honest. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. This is a hope. This is a hope that we have. And it's expecting a promise. A promise is actually, if we read about the bedevilments on page 52, I think it might have been last week or the week before. And these bedevilments turns into promises a page later on page 84, right? So this is a hope we can gain from here to there. But when it comes to the promises they're talking about, is other people can see these promises come true before we do. So step 3 says made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him, right? Spiritual principle step 3 is faith, belief and confidence, right? We can develop some kind of faith that this power to solve our problem. You got to come to believe in something first, though. Do we come to believe that this book knows what it's talking about to help me solve my alcohol problem? That's a great start right there. We can come to believe that. Then we'll work on that power. Big book now shows us what this power is at on page 55. Step 4, made us search and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. This is courage. When it talks about made a searching and fearless moral inventory of self, we need to root out everything in self. We need to look at self and take other people out the picture, right? Look at self. See, selfishness and self-centeredness, that's the root of our troubles anyway. So we do this without fear. Yeah, you may have fear about wanting to go back into your past, but it needs to be faced. We got to face these fears and rectify them. Oh, what's wrong, girl? We have to face these fears and we got to rectify them. So step 5, admit it to God, to ourselves, and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 5 consists of integrity, leaving nothing out, being complete with what we write down in the step 4 inventory and what we share with our sponsor, whoever we choose to listen at our step 4 when we do step 5. So we look at where we were wrong at. We clean off our side of the street, not looking at the other person. So I used to blame people in my drinking career. I used to blame folks that every time I took a drink, it was never my fault. No, it was always you. You made me drink. You caused me to get drunk. You caused me to go to jail. But in reality, I got the ball to rolling, but taking their first drink anyway. So, but then we move on like step 6, right? It goes on to say we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. It says entirely ready. That means willingness. Is here at willingness, that's a spiritual principle. Means we make a choice, right? We want God to remove these shortcomings. We all loaded with shortcomings. We loaded with defects. Aria, we loaded with defects. But wilderness is so important. Always become willing, remain willing. Then we get to step 7. It says, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. That's humility. Better known as lack of self-pride. See, pride had me so buffed up. Shoot, I don't need to take them steps, man. I done read the wall up there. Shoot, I'm good. I done read the wall. I only go outside, get me a drink, and fall flat on my face. Then I end up flat on my back in another psych ward, another hospital. That was pride. Pride didn't want me to get no help, right? This stuff kept beating my butt down. So it takes a humility. Actually, humility, I would like to put it at the top of the list. But you know, alcohol beat me down so bad. God humbled my butt. Shoot, look at yourself, fool. Look at yourself. What are you doing? So then we go down to step 8, right? It says, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Now here, a lot of people can't handle this part. At least they say they can't. But you know, when we get God with us to get this power great in ourselves, we always ask him before we do anything. We have somebody taking us through this program. They'll guide us through this course of action. Yes, way before you get to this point, your sponsor or whoever taking you through this program. See, I had a recovered alcoholic take me through the program, and I had a lot of backbone. A lot of other recovered alcoholics, mainly Tony and Joe. There's the main two of my sponsor. He's a recovered alcoholic, and I have several other recovered alcoholics. They helped me see what was going on in this program. So, and it's all about the principle of love here in step 8, caring about the well-being of others here. So the people that we done hurt so many of them, we might not even remember all of them that we hurt. We become willing though. Write their name down on step 4. And then step 4 and step 10 is connected because the inventory, our personal inventory, it'll continue to go on because there's probably going to be years from now. You might think of somebody that we heard a long time ago and then to pop up in our mind. And then we get a chance to do this person. Some people we can never make amends to. So, you know, we write it down on paper. But if they're dead and gone and we can't never find them, we try to make an attempt, but we ain't just gonna beat our heads in the ground. I wonder who this person is in the world, especially if something happened 30 years ago. I'm just gonna tell you, but you know, we do the best we can. Step 9, He's going to tell us, make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except to do so would injure them or others. Step 9, spiritual principles about justice. Repairing the damage we did to people in the past, right? We did a whole lot of damage to people in our past. I know I did. I don't know about y'all. Oh, my goodness. I don't know about y'all. So we go to try to repair this damage. It must takes a lot of courage, but we got to have that power to go with us, right? If we go without this power, we ain't no telling what might happen. We make mistakes when we go without this power, and then to help somebody guide us through this thing. Then we go on step 10, it says, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 10 is about perseverance. That's the spiritual principle, right? The ongoing working of the steps in your daily lives. It's all rooted in step 11. We got 24-hour day clock. So when we do something or say something wrong, today we can promptly admit it instead of blaming the other person, then getting another darn drink. No, we got a plan of action here today, and we're grateful for it. Then step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Step 11 is all about spiritual awareness. Knowledge of God or knowledge of the power that is greater than yourself. Yes, then step 12. We flip the page, step 12 on top of page 16 says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Step 12 is about service, helping others, unconditional love. Well, how much love did we show in our drinking career, boy? Yeah, I'd love to get something from you. I'd love for you to give me some money for something to drink, because we didn't have no real love in our alcoholic career. We might have thought we had. I know I thought I had, but the bottom line, I was an alcoholic. I couldn't see the truth from the fall. This program of recovery. We love people today. We love helping people. We love treating people right because that's the power of the God that we understand, of the God that solved our problem. I love the God that solved my problem. He gets me through everything today. Oh, man, I'm so grateful for it. So the step 12 that we're talking about, it already starts taking place right here in step 2, right? Because that's where we want to go is to step 12. Okay, back to the reading. So step 12 is our goal. And just went over the 3 parts to step 12. That's the spiritual awakening, to help other people and practice these principles in all our affairs. That means all these principles we learn in this book, they gradually become a working part of the mind. And with practice, we can do this on a daily basis, Me, myself, I have to go a minute at a time, second at a time, hour at a time, day at a time. I can't look too far. I can't look forward. We have to live in the present, in other words. Yesterday is gone. It's in the past, so we try to clear up our records from the past. Live for the day, hope for tomorrow, because tomorrow's not a promise of none. Present living, that's how we handle. That's how everything comes in fruition today. Present living in the present. Now remember, none of us can do these 12 steps perfectly. But we claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Amen to that. Just be willing to make progress. Key word, progress. So many of us exclaim, page 60, what in order? I can't go through with it. Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. So that's what I say. Nobody can do these things perfectly. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter 2, the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, that we were alcoholic, and could not manage our own lives, B, that probably no human power could ever leave our alcoholism, and C, that God could and would if he were sought. Well, but now if I'm an alcoholic and I can't manage my life, no human power could have relieved my alcoholism. Can I believe that God will relieve me of my problem as I worked the 12 steps? And he did. He really did. All the other measures that I tried failed. I tried everything else it was. So another short question, that's the end of step 2. Once again, I'd like to go over this one more time. Do you believe, or are you even willing to believe that there is a power greater than yourself? I had to, I ain't had no choice. So the answer to that would be yes. I'm sure the answer for that would be yes for all of it. So that's basically it. This is step 2 for now, but remember the second step promise. As soon as a man can say that he does believe or is willing to believe, we emphatically assure him that he is on his way. It has been repeatedly proven among us that upon this simple cornerstone, a wonderfully expected spiritual structure can be built. Yeah. Next stop will be step 3, which we'll get on next week. And it tells us, it reads, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. So in the first step, we learned that we had lost the power of choice and had to make a decision. So we'll be talking about the decisions on the next workshop time. And Brother Dan, thank you again. Always been a fabulous co-host, and we're gonna close this thing today.
Let's wrap it up.
And
Perfect place to stop as well.
wrap it up. Yes, perfect place to start, no doubt. Got a lot of information.